Welcome to Whiskey One, the channel for the novice, the curious, and the connoisseur. I'm Whiskey One. I got Daniel Warren from the Albuquerque Whiskey Society, and we have OakVale, local band from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And we are going to be tasting and enjoying some Glenlivet Enigma. Stick around. Alright, so the Enigma. Now, this is made by Glenlivet, a Speyside single malt Scotch. And this is not the first time that Glenlivet has put out a bottling, an expression that basically dares you to try to figure it out. What's going on with the whiskey inside the bottle, how long it's been matured, what's it been matured in, and of course, overall, like what kind of tasting notes do you expect to get? Now, some distillers will take the time and let you know what are you in for when you purchase their bottle, right? Now, Glenlivet went out of their way to specifically hold back and not reveal anything about it until people could buy it, basically see what they got out of it, and then crack the code, or the enigma, so to speak. Now, I'm here with OakVale. They're a local band, and they reached out to me and said, hey man, we would love to try this with you. We have a song that kind of talks about the enigma, so to speak, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's labeled, I think the name of the song is Judas, right?
Yes, correct.
And the cool thing is these guys have just released their album called Then and Now. And so before I get too far into the enigma, you guys want to introduce yourselves and a little bit about what this album has in store for us?
Yes, for sure, Israel. So I'm Jude Sanchez. I am the lead vocalist and the guitarist in Oakville. Matt, I'll let you.
My name is Matt Aguilar, and I am the second guitar for Oakville.
My name is Tom Kazemi, and I am the bass player for Oakvale.
Hi everyone, I'm Dave Vasquez. I'm the drummer.
Yes, and we have been a band since 2018. We moved from a two-piece to a three-piece, then to a four-piece with Tom and Matt about 2019, beginning of 2019 in March. And then we recently picked up Dave and had a lineup change here in August. Like Israel was saying, we just released an album this past Friday on the 17th, so go check it out. We have a little bit of experience with Glenlivet. For me personally, it was one of the first scotches I had. The very first was Israel, I don't think likes to talk about it, but it was Monkey Shoulder, and it was the maltiness was a little much for me. It was almost to a soapiness for me. But when I tried the Glenlivet 12, I loved it. I shared it with Matt, shared it with Tom. David's a little newer to whiskey, so but we're excited to try this enigma. We do have a song called Judas, like Israel was saying, and it's about somebody that you can't quite put your finger on, and that hurts you, that lies to you, and basically how those lies and that enigma comes to light, and you kind of see through it in the end. Yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Nice. Well, we also have Daniel Warren from the Albuquerque Whiskey Society. You might have seen him before if you've ever chimed into a Whiskey One video. The last time we got together and kind of tasted whiskey and talked whiskey was the Jack Daniels?
Yeah, the Jack Daniels single barrel rye and the single barrel proof.
Yep.
The bourbon.
So I'm really ecstatic that we're all here together to sort of, we have a range of experience, so to speak. I'm a novice, clearly, and these guys are the experts, so I'm going to try to learn as much as I can from these gents here, all right? So yeah, thank you for stopping by and letting us use your place. This is Daniel's spot, so you're used to seeing the bar, the Whiskey One spot, but today we just need a little bit more space. So, all right, so let's go ahead and dive in, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Do it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so again, the Enigma, right? This is a Speyside single malt Scotch. What I will say is, although it's not a 40% alcohol Scotch, this is really, really approachable. And I'm doing this all wrong. I'm gonna start with you, Matt. And I was about to pour it all for me.
So what is the ABV?
ABV, alcohol, right, per volume. So I'm glad that you asked that. Because when you read the labels on the bottles, typically they'll have like a percentage. Now this one in particular is 60.6%. You do the math. This is about 121.2 proof. Now, not everybody drinks 121 proof. I will tell you that, right? Most people that are just getting started with whiskey, let's just give you a little taste,
Thank you.
are going to go for more of a 40% or an 80 proof type of Scotch or other whiskey. Now, me, I am a cast strength fanatic, so I do like them with a little bit of punch. What I tend to find is, as long as you're taking your time, you're not kicking it back, trying to see how much you can drink, you're going to be just fine. What some people will do as well is add a little bit of water to the whiskey. It'll sort of proof it down, but you don't want to drop a whole glass in there. Just add a few drops at a time, let it sit there, and let it sort of start to open up for you, okay? And then what you'll find is that it's not really that strong. Clearly, right?
Yeah. And adding the water actually lowers the proof, which opens up the whiskey and changes the whiskey.
Right.
Some people do it with a cube. Some people do it with just regular water.
Yeah.
So one thing that we're going to start with, guys, I know some of you are not like whiskey regulars, so to speak, is we're just going to do a quick roll. Now, if you're wondering why we're doing this, you don't necessarily have to do it, but I prefer to coat the inside of the glass, because the next step we're going to take, gents, is we're going to nose it. And it's always helpful to have that glass coated all the way through if you can. So just a nice gentle roll. You don't have to get aggressive and swirl it around very hard. And now we're just going to nose it. Now when you do, right, you don't put your nose all the way in the glass. Just slowly approach it. And when you start to breathe it in, keep your mouth open at the same time, you'll notice it's going to be a lot less alcohol burn and more of that flavor coming in. All right, so let's go ahead and check this out. And I'll start with you, Dave, as far as what kind of flavors are you getting out of this?
This brings back memories for me as a child and my family having the uncles and the aunts over. And I remember one of my father's best friend always had a glass of whiskey in his hand with ice cubes, little tumblers. That's exactly where I went to. And you're right, I keep the distance a bit, and I'm not coughing or anything, but I could smell that smell, and it just brings back those memories.
One of the things that I thought was interesting that Dave said, and I tell people this all the time, is let whiskey remind you of things. So I think it's awesome that you went there immediately, because I always say you're going to remember a whiskey because you have a memory in your head that says this is something I remember. I remember there's a whiskey I drank before and it smelled like the candy dish at my grandmother's house. And I smell it and I think about that candy dish, same thing you said. My family, so it's awesome. I think whiskey does that. It can bring you back to a place and time in the past.
When you breathe something in, it basically goes into your deepest memories, right? Your core memories. So, Tom, what are you getting out of that?
It smells good. I'll say that. I'm definitely not getting any kind of sharp alcohol, kind of none of that. It's really smooth. It kind of spicy, maybe, if that makes any kind of sense. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of the holidays, maybe, in that kind of way. But yeah, no, I don't really know what I'm smelling. I just know it smells good, and it's not sharp or anything like that.
It's interesting that you said that, because one of the things that I was instantly thinking about first trying it was, this is the ideal whiskey for that summer going right into that fall season.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, so what are you getting out of it, Jude?
So I definitely... I have a little bit of knowledge about whiskey. I've kind of tried to get into it and learn as much as I can. So I do get I get some maltiness. I could definitely see that. I don't know too much about Enigma, but I could see that it may be finished, like you said, in a wine cask. I'm kind of getting maybe the skin of the grape, but it's mellow, like how Tom was saying, not sharp. Very balanced. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing here that's overpowering, right, guys? I mean, nothing's oh my God, there's nothing else I get out of it but this one thing.
Right.
What about you?
Same thing. It's really maltiness. I keep getting a hint of this might just be me and my Glenlivet 12, but I think I told Jude the first time I had it, kind of like a chocolatey kind of hint to it. And oh man, whatever it is, it's making my mouth water.
I'm glad that you said that, man. You hit it on the head. Like I was getting this dark cacao.
Okay.
I'm not, most people think about chocolate, Hershey's chocolate, right? And it's real sweet, super sweet. This feels more like dusted cocoa, almost bordering on like baker's chocolate, but not like sour, bitter, or anything like that. So I'm glad that you picked that out. I was getting that too, and that's interesting. And I'm glad that you guys kind of opened it up, because what you'll notice, like when you go through this journey, is your palate is going to evolve over time, and what you get will be different than what Dave gets, what Tom gets, what Jude gets. Like, we all have our own palate, and we all probably ate something or had something else to drink throughout the day. And when you come to a whiskey, it's going to shift that palate. It's going to change what you get out of it. So just keep that in mind too.
Definitely.
What are you getting out of this, Daniel?
Well, I know we talked about the proof and how high proof it is. I can tell you this much. I would not have guessed it was 120 proof just by the nose. And a lot of times I can guess a high proof whiskey just by smelling it. So it's definitely fruity. We talked about the cacao. I definitely get that in there. Originally when I pulled it up, it was buttery. Like almost like an Irish. I don't know why I got that, but it was like my brain went there. Buttery smoothness on the nose. And but yeah, I think it's got a little bit of it's got fruit all in this thing.
Oh yeah.
There's fruit. Loads of fruit, so I'm expecting kind of a fruit bomb when we get into it.
Absolutely, yeah, and again, not to give you the power suggestion, but there's a lot of orchard fruits that I get out here, and I brought something for later, but I got green grapes, like an apple pie, a little bit of that spice, like almost like a apple pie with some cinnamon to it. I definitely got some chocolate notes out of it, and it's just like fruit forward. In my opinion, it's not smoky. I didn't get any kind of smokiness. And most Scotch does usually incorporate some kind of smoke, peat smoke, because that's usually how they malt the barley. I won't get into malting, but that's typically one of the first things that they do when they make their whiskey is they malt it, which is very different from like American whiskey, which we use corn and rye and wheat and some malt, right, to basically bring out those sugars. So I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to dive right in, and let's see what we get, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh yeah. A lot of fruit. A lot of flavor. A lot of flavor.
The proof comes forward.
Yeah.
The proof comes forward.
The proof's on you.
The proof is there. You get that spiciness, a little bit of spiciness pops in there.
I feel like
I'll hold back for a minute. I'll let these guys. Give
So
us a,
try not to judge on the first sip.
Yeah.
Let it wet the whistle right, get the palate going, and coated right. But because this is a high proof, one thing that'll work a little better for you is chew on it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Don't just sip it, swallow it right away. Let it coat. It's gonna probably burn it first, but what you'll notice is that second, that return sip, the third and fourth, it'll mellow out. That burn that you might get because it's high proof, it'll taper off. So let's go back to it, and then I'm gonna start with you, Matt, and then you talk about what you get out of it. What are you thinking?
That's why I love the mustache, because I can.
You get the second
Get
drippings?
that second. Definitely a lot more of the apple hit to it. That was the first thing I noticed was there's so much more fruitness to it versus the smell was more chocolatey, sweeter. Now, all I could taste is apple now. It's that apple pie kind of deal.
Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you. What are you sipping out of? Is that a Snoot glass?
This is a Snoot glass.
That is a Snoot glass.
This is a Snoot glass.
And now might be the right time to bring up Snoot. And this is an American company, Snoot, that reached out to me and said, hey man, would you like to try out our products? and feature some of your whiskeys in them. And what I've noticed is they've got a good product, right? This is solid. Matt, you're drinking out of a metallic one, and this is perfect for like drinking in the woods. You don't have to worry if you drop it; it ain't gonna break on you. Jude, you're drinking out of a glass one, and it's got like this double layer to it. And what that's really doing is, when you're holding it, you're going to warm up the whiskey, right? But when you're holding it in the snoot glass, it's not going to do that. It's not going to interfere.
Staying insulated.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are ever interested, those watching, on purchasing snoot glass, these are actually very affordable, and you can use WO20 as a code to get a 20% discount. So check them out. All right, so I'm going to put this away. And Jude, what are you getting out of this?
Well, I feel I can see the green apple, but I do get like green grapes, and it's different from the nose where I got, like Dan was saying, the butter in the nose. In the taste, I'm getting more of the fruitiness and a little spiciness. The proof, I just feel it makes the flavor kind of explode. It doesn't really, the alcohol doesn't quite hit me, but it really gives a lot of flavor, so it's great.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hold back, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this proof is going to take whatever you normally would get out of it and just turn up the amp, right? If you're listening to a song on 5, it's definitely going to take it to 10 or even 11. I definitely get a lot of those things that I got on the nose. This is not like a tricky whiskey, meaning like when I'm just nosing it, I'm just trying to get a feel for it before I take a sip, and then I take the sip, I'm getting something totally different. You know what you're going to get, right, with this one. I feel like what I was getting on the nose, I'm getting right on the taste. What do you think, Tom?
I don't know if it's power suggestion like we were talking about before, but I'm picking up a little bit more like that apple kind of spice, like that apple pie kind of thing. I think I'm picking up on it more now. But yeah, still delicious, still not like a lot of the higher proof things that I've had before where it kind of burns and all that. It's delicious. It's amazing.
Very cool. So Dave, what are you getting out of it, man?
So, I got to be honest. I'm coming at this from a non-whiskey drinker side of things. So I'm not getting the different flavors. My palate isn't there yet. We'll work on that. But for a whiskey, from my experience, the first thing that comes to mind is extremely smooth. I've drank whiskeys that are they kind of burn going down.
A little rough.
And we also talked about the burn, right?
Yeah.
And there is a slight burn to it, but it's not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When I can handle it.
Right.
And I'm not even a whiskey drinker, so yeah, I'm ready for another one.
Well, we'll definitely oblige. All right, well, gents, Dan, you're next.
Cool.
What do you know?
Well, this whiskey is just, the flavor that it puts off is pretty phenomenal. Again, everything you guys said, orchard fruits are in there. One of the things that I found interesting that I'm kind of getting a little bit of is like a lightly toasted marshmallow too. Mm-hmm. So I know that's kind of weird, but it's not a burnt one, so you're not getting that smoky flavor, but just a light of a toast of a marshmallow when it gets just slightly brown.
Yeah,
It's
that caramelized covering on that
Caramel
marshmallow.
sugar.
Where, I mean, it's not like you're smelling campfire necessarily, but there is a whiff, right?
Yeah.
A whiff
Yeah.
of a tinge of smoke. Not from a smoker, barbecue, nothing like that, but
No.
something's kind of adding a little spice to it, if anything.
And it's a Scotch. It's a great Scotch. It's
This is a very approachable Scotch.
very approachable
Yes.
Scotch. A very approachable Scotch at a very high proof.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
No kidding. It seems like a lot of you got a lot of that fruit presence. And one thing that, like, coming back to it, I'm starting to get a little bit more of, and again, not to induce the power suggestion here, but I got like freshly sliced pears. And I don't know if you guys got that too, but there is that apple, the grape, but also that fresh, pear that's just been ripe. You know what I mean? And to your point, I did get toasted marshmallow. I suppose where I was going with it is like, you ever have, not creme brulee, but lemon meringue pie, and that coat that cream that's on top that they usually toast just slightly.
Yeah.
That's what it
Toasted
was thinking
meringue.
of. Yes. And I don't know if it's marshmallow, but it certainly is right on that cusp of marshmallow and cream or something, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So, like you guys, this is dangerously tasty. I've had experience with the code, and just off of memory, it was not as tasty as the Enigma. And I've seen this on the shelf. I've been like thinking about it, but going into the price point and all, this is not like the cheapest bottle. This is going to be something that I think most people just getting into whiskey will look at the price tag and say, well, I don't know that I'm there yet. I don't know anything about it. And because they don't tell you anything about it, I think one of the drawbacks about the marketing aspect of it is it's going to scare people away. And inevitably what you end up with is a bunch of connoisseurs who go for it, gravitate to it, but not like folks that are just curious, like, hey, I would like to see it, and drop some cheddar to see what this is all about. Now, I don't know. I'm going to ask just a quick opinion. Would you guys, not knowing anything about this, would you still pick this up knowing what you paid for it?
Yeah, so I think we paid like $125 for it total wine. I probably not like the Enigma of the whole thing. I don't know if I'd pay that, just being new to it. Coming off of Glenlivet 12 and then kind of being a fan of Glenlivet 12, maybe, but it is a higher price point. After drinking it, I probably would pay again. Maybe for a special occasion, for hanging out with the band, hanging out with you guys. Definitely.
Yeah.
Special occasion bottles are great.
Yeah.
This would be a cool. I dropped my first album.
Drop your first album.
Have
Have a song that says Enigma in it, and this is a great bottle for that. Yeah, definitely.
And you brought up a good point. So sometimes, like when you start hitting the shelves, and you see that pricier one, and you're still curious about it, whiskey is one of those things that will bring people together and say, you know what? If it's going to be like 3 or 4 of us doing it, and we're going to be sharing it anyway, why the hell not? Yeah. And this is the ideal type of whiskey for that. Now, I'm not just saying it because it tastes good, but when you're just kind of curious, you don't know, like, what's the range, where we're going to go with this tonight, what are we getting, this is going to be one that I recommend. I'm not sure if you guys would recommend it. It sounds like you're right on point with that. But this, for me, is a good whiskey to share. Yeah. Definitely with friends and family, for sure. And one of the things you're probably going to want to say up front is don't let that proof scare you, because it does not drink 120 proof.
I could also take this. I like to do this with my high proof whiskeys. I'll take and I'll make myself 1 pour of the evening. But I could pour this much in a glass and sit there with that, enjoy it, appreciate it, study it.
Absolutely.
For an hour. That 1 pour of whiskey. Mm-hmm. And I do that a lot with my high proof whiskeys. I just think you can really dig into them. You can experiment with water and different fruit pairings or food pairings. Definitely. And be able to find things deeper in that whiskey than you would just sitting around taking us.
For us, I think this is a great bottle to have when we're creating some new music, and pour a little bit, hanging out for a few hours, sipping on this. It's a great bottle for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, you guys, again, just dropped your latest album. Is this like your first album, second, third, fourth?
This is our first full-length album. It's a 10-song album. It was recorded at Rio Grande Studios here in Albuquerque. Nice. And yeah, we're very excited. Very excited for it.
I'm excited too, because again, like one of your songs talks about the Enigma, and I'm interested to see like what this thing sounds like. What do you guys have? Do you have like your stuff here? Maybe you could play a song or two.
Did we bring?
We might be able to do a little chicken picking for you guys in a bit.
I think we brought some stuff where we could play the song that kind of correlates with this bottle for sure.
If we can get another glass.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, let's get another pour, and I think we should do just that.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right, gents. So I'm going to go around the room. And again, thanks for stopping by, guys.
Thank you.
Hopefully this is not like your first time visiting Whiskey One. If it is, thanks for showing us some love and checking out the video. And if you're a return sipper, thanks for stopping by again. Here at Whiskey One, it's about the one you enjoy. Cheers.
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 Thank you. We are Oakville. We want to thank Whiskey One again for having us, and Albuquerque Whiskey Society for collaborating with us on this review. We once again are drinking Glenlivet Enigma. It's the bomb. Please go check out our album, Then and Now. We just released it this past Friday. We're very, very happy with it, and hope you guys enjoy it. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah.